What's up, YouTube? This is Morgan, also known as Jew, and this is going to be the start of something I do with one of my friends. We are both very big Georgia Tech basketball fans. Obviously, as you've seen on this channel, I'm a very big Georgia Tech fan in general. But we're going to be like, this episode is a little bit long because we were talking about the game and preview for the season, basically. But it's kind of going to be like a podcast style where we're just talking about the game. It's like the same recap style, but it's like just more bounce off commentary. Hopefully, this is going to be something I do regularly, whether it does traction or not. I might start doing more college basketball content once because the season has started, like different conference previews, stuff like that. So without further ado, I'm gonna get into it. If there's people we should try to get on, if I have that reach, let me know. I'm gonna probably bring more people on anyway. So yeah. So Georgia Tech. Do you still think after this game we're gonna have a rough season?
First half wasn't super promising. They just didn't shoot the ball well.
That's a consistent I've noticed with Georgia Tech teams in general.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if that was sort of just like knocking the rust off, or if that's going to be a consistent problem for this team.
Gotcha. Because besides Lance Terry,
well, I mean, he didn't shoot too great in the first half. I didn't feel like. Yeah, he had a run in the second half where I think he scored 8 in a row or something like that.
And then that probably inflated it.
Yeah, and it made it look better than it really was.
Okay.
Even he shot 4 for 8.
Yeah. That's more shooting than you've seen out of a lot of Tech teams from the past. Like at least last year, because no one shot more than like 3.
I mean, DeVoe was the only guy that shot a ton of threes.
That's true.
Looking at last year's stats, Debo Coleman shot over 100 threes, Usher shot over 100 threes, and
DeVoe was almost 200.
And DeVoe was almost 200 threes.
Yeah, and everybody else
Coleman was making them at a 41% clip, which is impressive.
Yeah. And tonight he was 1 for 2. So I mean, I guess he's holding to his average a little bit, but not as much. Okay, curious since we don't have a DeVoe in the system anymore. What was because I wasn't there for the people who don't know this. How was the offense looking with not having a DeVoe, but more just a bunch of role player guys?
I mean, Pastner said it over and over. The star of the team is the team this year.
Yeah.
They don't really have. They don't have the guy that you can go to and just say, okay, go get a bucket. You know, DeVoe was that guy. Usher was that guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and even to some extent in years past when he was healthy, Bubba Parham was that guy. You could just give the ball and say, all right, go find a bucket.
Yeah.
The team doesn't have that kind of guy this year. Although I thought Miles Kelly looked really good on ball tonight.
Okay.
He made several plays just off the dribble too, where I thought he looked really good getting to the hole. Looked really good in his catch and shoot stuff.
Yeah.
I think if Georgia Tech's going to be good this year, they need a really big season from Kelly.
Yeah, that was what I was glad near the end of the season that he got a lot more playing time, and I think he really earned it in practice. But it was shown that he, at least at the end of the season, his shot everybody knew was always there. You can kind of tell once he started shooting. But his defense in the second half of the year was phenomenal. And that's, I feel like and I'm glad we're getting to finally see his offensive game, on full display and not just he's a guy who's going to sit on the wing and DeVoe or Usher will hit him at some point. So I feel like, but I said it to you before the beginning of the season. I said either this team is going to have a really good year because the team just plays really well because there's no guy, or we just shit the bed. But
and with this team, there are going to be nights where they just shit the bed. I mean, if
you get that with team ball anyway, there are nights where because you can't
just don't fall, which is the downside of not having that dude. You can just give the ball and say, all right, go get me 20 points tonight. They had that last year. They had 2 of those guys last year.
Yeah.
And their highest their biggest scorer that's returning is Sturdivant, and he only averaged 7.5 points a game last year.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough.
But what I will say is that if they are having a bad shooting night, offensive rebounding is going to be really, really important.
Yeah.
I thought Rodney Howard was phenomenal tonight. He looked more comfortable around the rim.
Okay,
Um,
that's huge for
yeah, looking at the stats, he had 10 offensive rebounds. Now, I will say several of those plays were just instances where he was putting it back up and missed, once or twice. But
and
still, I
yeah,
mean, second chance points are going to be really important for this team that I don't think has, a ton of great shooters.
yeah.
They have several good shooters. I think Lance Terry shot really well from three last year at Gardner Webb, and
Hmm.
Debo Coleman's obviously a good shooter. But aside from that, I really don't think we have just that knockdown shooter
We've
that
had in the
Power Five
past.
teams need to have.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or even if we've had in past. I'm curious on your take on this. How does Rodney Howard just in general look more compared to last year? Because last year we had the moments where it's like last in the end of the year he started to look like he was more comfortable, but a lot of it was really rough and very frustrating to watch. So I'm curious how he looked tonight compared to last year.
I thought a lot of his momentum from like the end of last year really he looked the same as he did at the end of last year, which is
Okay.
good because you're
Yeah.
looking for some. I don't expect Rodney Howard to be some sort of All American or All ACC player. Even you just need Rodney Howard to provide solid minutes for you.
Yeah.
Play decent defense. Don't turn the ball over. He had 3 turnovers tonight,
Yeah.
um, which shouldn't really be happening against a team like Clayton State.
Yeah.
Uh, but again, those 10 offensive rebounds are huge.
Yeah.
He still refuses to shoot the ball from anywhere outside the paint.
Which I'm honestly not too upset about, at least because we haven't seen the development of the shot. But
Yeah, free throws are probably going to be a problem for him again. It's just,
yeah, that makes sense.
I'd be surprised if, in close games, teams don't sort of start to hack him.
Mm-hmm.
He's just not a good foul. I mean, he can't make foul shots. So,
Yeah. Well, we're going on through the note. He is 1 for 2 on the season, so 50% I think is right around his average anyway. What was his last year? It
61% last year.
Okay, so it's a little bit low, but that's also very small sample size. Last year he had what was it? Where is
44 foul shots.
Yeah, so I
Made
mean
27 of them.
yeah. Now I feel like the biggest thing is there's not a whole there's not the only veteran on this team right now is Kyle Sturdivant, and everybody else is relatively young. Per se.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, Javon Franklin is a 24 years.
Oh, that's right. I forget about the transfer. We don't have any recruits this year. We had,
Yeah.
but it's I mean, in terms of just Georgia Tech,
Yes,
but
they're young to our eyes. But
yes.
I mean, Lance Terry is a veteran. I mean, he's played for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even Davon Smith, I think, is a junior this year. So
yeah,
Sturdivant's a senior. So it's not like we're a young team. I mean, Howard's a senior, Sturdivant's a senior.
Mm-hmm. That's very.
I mean,
what is Coleman Boyd? Is he a junior?
I think he's a senior this year. He did play tonight.
He got 39 seconds.
Yeah, which was really exciting.
Damn, in 39 seconds he got 2 shots. Damn, good for him.
Yeah, he threw up a couple shots there at the end, and it didn't look too good for him. But
No, and you were saying earlier before I think we started recording, Jalen Moore looked very good. So.
Yeah, no, he looked really good on ball to me. He's never going to be a great shooter, but I think he's just a big guy. He can put his head down and he can put his head down and get to the rim whenever he wants. I mean, he's a big, strong, athletic, on the ball player, and a really good rebounder, really solid defender. He's one of those guys that doesn't have to score to have an impact on the game.
Yeah. So.
But I thought he looked very, very solid tonight.
That's what's important is because I think the strength of this team will be since there's no guy, we have a lot more players that we can play, and it's a deeper team. We're not used to seeing that with past teams. At least you get your good solid 7-8 man rotations, and tonight we had 9 play over 15 minutes, and nobody played more than 27, and the 27 was Debo, which Debo is arguably compared to last year is one of the most not I wouldn't say the most because there's not really the most valuable guy right now, but he's one of the topper upper guys that's valuable to this team.
I thought Tristan Maxwell had a really tough night.
Yeah, I feel like we just saw that one. It was basically that one game last year. That
Yeah, it was that one blow up game he had last year against I think it was Boston College where
yeah,
he
whereas
I mean he
we
just
looked
went off for that
yeah we
night.
looked like completely out of it, and then he just went off, and we won the
Yeah.
game somehow.
Yeah. I, but I'm really excited to see how Javon Franklin fits in off the it looks like him and Rodney Howard are pretty much going to be splitting minutes.
Okay.
I don't think I ever saw them on the floor together.
Okay.
But he looks like he's more valuable on ball than Howard is, but maybe not as good as a rebounder.
Okay, so it's like I would say if we put them like I doubt we'd ever see it, but it's like if they were on the floor together, would you put Howard down low and then run the Princeton through Javon Franklin, or
I don't really think that's a thing you can do because with the Princeton offense, your big is
yes, yeah, no, you're moving
sit,
and then your big is the elbow top 3 point.
your big is your facilitator, and
Yeah.
I think I like Franklin more in that role.
Okay.
I saw him handle the ball a couple times tonight, and he didn't look totally flustered, which
That's just it's important.
Howard in the past has just been an absolute mess when he has to dribble the ball.
Yeah.
And that continued tonight, I think. He had 3 turnovers, which led the team.
Yeah.
Which makes sense being that he's going to be he's going to be I don't know if focal point's the right word, but you're running your offense through the big and the Princeton offense. That's just how it works.
Yeah. And I will say I was intrigued looking at this, and I didn't see it on the injury report, at least before the game. Jordan Mecca didn't play, and like he looked like a very raw player last year, and I liked what I saw, but I was really shocked that he actually didn't play, and I don't know what that is, and I'm actually kind of curious. But
I think it's just simply there's 2 centers that are better than him.
yeah, I put Mecca at a 4 over a center though. I don't know, but
I don't think he can shoot well enough for that. I mean, how did he shoot last year?
last year
I'm looking at it right now.
He's 6 for
He shot
27.
6. I mean, and he didn't attempt a single 3. And if you're going to play a 4 in this Princeton offense,
That's fair. You got to be able to shoot because that's what Usher was.
Yeah, and that's what Debo is going to be this year. Debo is going to start at the 4 for us.
Yeah, which is a very small team, but
Yes. I did notice they played with a lot more pace tonight than in previous nights.
That's huge.
Davon Smith had 7 rebounds.
Yeah.
And he was pushing the ball after every last one of those.
I will say, did he look like he wanted to slow it down more and like set it, or was it kind of like last year where it's like go go go?
There were several instances where last year he would go up for some crazy acrobatic layup on like a 3-on-2 or rather a 2-on-3 or like a 1-on-3, something like that, where he just gets out ahead of everybody and makes a silly decision and goes up with the ball. There were several instances tonight where he made the smart decision. He drove in, saw if he could break down the 3-on-1 or the 1-on-3 or whatever, and then pulled it back out and reset the offense, which I thought was
that's huge. That's going to be
that's really, really
huge for the team because
yeah.
But I'm curious, what do you think Pastner said to them at halftime? Because the difference shooting in the first half was they were 14 of 39, second half 21 of 34, and
I didn't really notice a huge difference in the way they played. I
just
thought
shots fell.
Yeah, I mean, because if you look at Clayton State's numbers, they only shot 37% for the game, 40% in the first half, and then 34 in the second half. I mean,
the 1 for 12 though, that's the difference.
Yeah, but I mean, 3 for 10 versus 1 for 12 isn't that big of a difference,
Yeah, no, that's fair.
They just. I just feel like shots started to fall. I didn't think it was anything.
Just changed. It was just shots fell.
It was, yeah.
Do you think first half was more rust and then second half was them playing to what they can be, or?
I don't even think that. I just, I thought they turned the ball over several really bad turnovers there in the first half where they just weren't understanding the flow of what was happening.
Okay.
As you know, the Princeton offense is a lot of back cuts and on ball screens or off ball screens rather, and a lot of stuff like that. And I'm not entirely sure how it works, whether there's options to cut one direction versus the other based off of what you see on the defense, or if there's sort of a set plan that Tech goes through.
Yeah.
Um, but it looks like guys were just throwing the ball in the wrong spot. Like I saw several. I think Debo Coleman had a turnover like that where he was expecting a guy to be in one spot and he just wasn't there and just threw the ball out of
It
bounds.
was more like they were trying to feel it rather than my headphones fell out. Rather than like trying to find the right one, two.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're back in, so we're good. But it was more like you would see basically in football. It's like what we see with Sims and Malachi Carter is he just throws it before he's even there, essentially. But
It wasn't even that. He just threw it somewhere where he wasn't going to be at all.
but he thought he was going to be, and so he just was like, yeah.
So say there's a guy on the corner or there's a guy coming around that little ball screen or whatever that Howard sets with the ball. I don't exactly know what to call that, but he sort of uses his body to block the off-ball defender.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There was an instance where I think it was Smith went baseline and Coleman thought he was going to go back to the corner, and Coleman just threw it straight out of bounds to the corner.
Gotcha. So there was just was that first half or second half once they settled in more?
That was the first half.
Okay.
It just seemed like several silly turnovers to me.
Okay. And then did the turnovers cut down in the second half? And that's like, I'm just at least noticeably did the turnovers cut down. I don't know about on paper.
I don't know off the top of my head, but it seemed like they played better basketball in that second half.
Okay. Just off of straight. Yeah. Just off straight looks and not stats to back up anything. But let's see what else can let's see, is there a player we haven't really talked about? I mean, Kyle Sturdivant, it's kind of your old reliable. He's
you know what you're getting out of Sturdivant.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a great scorer. You're not going to get a great defender.
He's gonna make the smart decisions at least, and
yes, yeah,
that's what you need.
He's going to be your main ball handler on offense normally.
Yeah.
And he looked just like I thought he would look. Didn't shoot the ball great, but you don't need Sturdivant to shoot the ball great if you're this team.
Yeah. No, you need him to facilitate and play good defense, pretty much.
You need him to not turn the ball over.
Yeah.
And he turned the ball over twice tonight. But I don't remember any of them being just like
egregious
turnovers where he just threw the ball way out of bounds or whatever.
So now I'll ask this. This is a curious question. People don't know this. We both coach. For a coach's perspective, is there something you would do differently? Like not obviously we're not college college coaches getting paid to do this, but it's like from something that we see, what would be something that like you would have changed necessarily, not necessarily game plan because the offense we know is going to be the same, but like
I mean.
It's a dumb question, but it's a question.
I'd love to get rid of the Princeton offense. I hate watching it.
No, it's absolutely atrocious to watch. I am 100% on board with that. But
it's not a terrible offense. It's just terrible when Rodney Howard runs it.
No, because when we had Ben Lammers for it, it was perfect.
Lammers or even Moses Wright. I mean,
Moses Wright was perfect for it, and it's like we had Moses Wright and James Banks.
They were both a threat to shoot from the elbow.
Exactly.
And Rodney Howard just can't shoot the ball. So
yeah, that's all it comes down to, really.
He can't shoot. So
yeah. I'll go into this one final question. This is one that I also thought of. This is not based on tonight. This is kind of part of preview. With Jay Batt coming in, the new athletic director, he has a good background with Alabama basketball. Being at Bama, he basically ran that program. Do you see that if there's no success this year or next year, that Pastor leaves, or not leaves, but is let go? Or do you see it going to the end of the new contract and riding with it?
I mean, I think they probably let him go to the end of the contract.
Mm-hmm.
I think Pastner has proven during that COVID season that, if he, like he says, if he gets old and stays old, that's how Georgia Tech's going to win.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought they were a really, really good team in that 2020 season. I mean, they kind of got screwed over. I mean,
Yeah, it's like because if we had a Moses Wright player to guard their was it Crudwick? I don't remember his name.
what the
It,
Porter Moses or something like that. If we
no,
had
Moses.
Moses,
That was Moses. No, Moses Porter was their coach, but
I don't.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
you know who
was
I'm
it was
talking
like
about.
Crudwig or some
Yeah.
random foreign name, but it's like we had
Yes.
no big man to guard. Like Usher was playing the 5, and like yeah, last
Yeah.
year Usher at the 5 was like okay, but when you have a big man like that, you can't do anything.
hmm But I think Pastner has proven that if he gets the team old and keeps it old, that
Mhm.
he can win here. Um,
Yeah,
and in a conference like the ACC, he's never going to be able to consistently go up against Duke, Carolina, Syracuse, Florida State, even though they did lose tonight.
I haven't looked at anything from that. I just saw that and I just went, huh?
Yeah,
Stetson? Like we beat Stetson last year.
yeah,
What?
yeah. Even though they did lose to Stetson tonight,
Yeah,
I don't think people have any reason to worry about Florida State. Leonard Hamilton does an awesome job there.
yeah.
Uh,
Now I will say, from a recruiting standpoint, we didn't get any recruits this year. I don't see that trend staying, but do you think that so what I've noticed is like on players' big boards from high school, or like out of their like predicted like final 5 or whatever, final 7, that techs in a lot of like 4 and like high 3 and 4 stars that they're in their big board, but there's just better fits for them. Do you think that Pastner should also look to go for like the lower guys, like we saw with like Brian Kelly, who we found Josh Okogie, who was Josh Okogie was a low 3-star. He also got Moses Wright. Moses Wright was a 0-star. So should he look to get more like, I guess not as seen players like we've seen like in football, at least with Paul Johnson, when he would get 0 stars and turn them into NFL players?
Honestly, I don't think recruiting high schoolers is terribly important to Pastner.
It's keeping veterans and guys.
With the transfer portal being as relevant in college athletics as it is today, I think it's easier it fits into his scheme of get old, stay old better. I mean, if you can find a 23-year-old grad transfer that's already played 5 years of college basketball with, the extra year of COVID and stuff like that, then I think it just fits into his scheme better.
Yeah.
And Pastner has historically played a pretty short rotation. And I think it's bit him in the ass several times when he just didn't have replacements for these guys that went down. Like I remember when Howard went down for a little bit last year, they were trying out Jordan Mecca at center and even Saba Gigi Baria, and he was just awful.
Okay, if the thing is, it's like I was saying to, like my dad and I talked about it. Saba on the top of the 1-3-1 was fucking phenomenal, but that's not where you need to play him.
It was really cool, but
it's not where you should play him. It's not, and it's like
just highly impractical.
Coming out of high school, he was a shooter. Like that was like he was a good stretch, but he never. I think that being in this system kind of broke him, and honestly hurt him. So I hope he does better. I think he's at Eastern Michigan now. But I remember like there being clips of him like on TikTok. He has a beautiful shot, like an absolute.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. And there was a game where, based on where we're sitting, like where I'm sitting, at least you can see, like you can yell at the players and they'll hear you. And the entire section was yelling, "Shoot it!" and he wouldn't shoot it. And then once we all yelled it, he shot and he made it. And we're like, and he never shot it again. And I think being in that system, the way that it's run, is because there's no stretch guys that we have. No one's seeing that the shot is an option anymore. With
him, I think he would have been better suited as a 4.
Yeah, no, I do too. And it's like a 7 foot 4.
He's not big enough. He's not physical. He just isn't physical enough to make it.
Yeah.
As a big in the ACC, that's just. That's just what it is. Yeah, I mean, he would have been better off as a stretch 4, and he could have even played at the top of that 1-3-1 with Rodney Howard down low, and
if we had him at a 4, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could have run a really big lineup last year. Like I know for a little bit, even Usher was running point guard.
Yeah.
Last year, I mean, he was.
Yeah.
Usher was. I mean, Usher was awesome for his last year.
I loved Usher.
he unlocked a lot of versatility for that lineup because you could honestly put Usher. You could play Usher 1 through 5.
Yeah, you could, and it's like and I think what we saw, like, because the year before he was inconsistent with his offense, and I think the beginning of the year last year it still showed, but his defense always was incredible, and his hustle on every single play, and that he was the glue. Like, yeah, DeVoe was the leading scorer, but I said arguably Usher was the most important player on that team last year.
No, for sure,
because he's 6'7", but he's guarding the other team's best big man or best player in that case, and he had more playmaking than DeVoe had, and his athleticism that's what stood out to me in the beginning, but his athleticism
it was out of this world to me.
Yeah. And he's in Turkey now and playing, so I hope I have to look at it. I have to keep up with how he's doing, but yeah, I don't really have any more thoughts on this game. Predictions for the season. That's what the other thing I can get to.
Predictions for the season is I think this team's really going to miss Khalid Moore.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I thought Khalid Moore was awesome for us for several years.
Yeah, and he didn't pop off pop off on stats, but
no, but he did a lot of things the right way, and I think Jalen Moore can become that.
Yeah. Or Jalen Moore, honestly, he in the way that I've seen him play, he could also just be a Moses Wright. He can develop into that.
I don't think he's tall enough to play like a Moses Wright. How tall was Wright? 6'11"?
6'10". And
yeah. Jalen Moore is only 6'7".
Yeah, but it's like he can become that type, that post guy that we had, and it's like if we want to run a small team for a little bit, run him at a 4 or run him at the 5 and just test out lineups. Early in the season, I don't think we have any really super tough games, and we have Georgia State on Saturday. Mm-hmm. Shit, we might have to go to that.
Yeah, I think I'm off Saturday, so
I would be at the football game right before, and I just have to head over to I just say to my dad, "Hey, don't drop me off. I'll just go over there." And
yeah,
but
I don't even know where their arena is, to be terribly honest.
No, it's the GSU Convocation Center. So
okay,
well, we have Georgia State, Northern Illinois at home. Utah is a neutral site because we have the tip off, Rocket Mortgage, Fort Myers tip off. So there's that. We play North Alabama. Should we get Colby to come down here?
I don't think Colby would come down here for that.
No, but it's then Iowa in the ACC. That's a scary game, honestly.
Yeah.
But other our early season schedule, besides really Utah's, from my knowledge at least, they're not insane. And then Iowa, the only scary team I see on our beginning slate is Iowa. So we have a lot of games to figure this out and see how the team actually looks, because the first game it's against Clayton State. Last year we played them, we beat them by 50. So
yeah,
and to even win this game by 30 with it being tied at halftime, that's
what does worry me a lot is that our opener in the ACC is at North Carolina.
Yeah, North Carolina is returning pretty much their entire team.
Yeah, that played the national championship last year.
Yeah, Armando Bacot is insane. Leaky Black, Caleb Love, RJ Davis, they're going
to be incredible this year. They're probably going to win the ACC, and
because Duke is super young, and
I'd be shocked if anyone but North Carolina wins the ACC this year,
unless something just happens, because we know Tony Bennett at Virginia, he can coach his way into being better, and I think Miami's gonna be really scary because they still have Isaiah Wong and a lot of their team. Florida State always is good.
Florida State's always good. I mean, like I said, Leonard Hamilton does an awesome job over there.
Yeah, I think Duke's gonna be a huge question mark though, because I also forgot they don't have Coach K, so
yeah, I mean that's
gonna be interesting. That's gonna be really
interesting to me too, to see how that one plays
out. I know they play
tonight.
I'm curious. Let's see Duke game.
I mean,
they're winning they're winning. They're gonna win. It's 70-44. So
yeah, I mean,
the second half was 28-18. Yikes.
I mean, I know John Shire. I mean,
yeah,
he's gonna do fine. I'm not worried about what he does at Duke. I mean, he knows Coach K very well, and I'm sure
he took a lot. And
Coach K isn't. He's not gone from the program forever. He's there. He's there if you need him.
It's like with North Carolina and fucking Roy. I can't fucking remember his Roy Williams. I don't know why I couldn't remember it, but it's like he's still like he goes to all their games pretty much. He is still a very big part of that program, and he handpicked his replacement, so he's still part of that program too, and they're still really fucking good. So
yeah, I mean he was an assistant over Coach K for almost 10 years.
yeah, so
He knows how to coach.
Yeah. So where do you see among the ACC? Where do you see us finishing? I say like bottom 3, but
I don't think they're going to be that bad.
yeah. Because I mean, who's going to be worse than us in the ACC? I wouldn't say NC State. NC State's got some players. Clemson maybe.
Clemson's going to be bad, I think.
Louisville always has a good team.
Yeah.
I mean, Wake Forest has been having a good team recently. Virginia Tech. I don't know how good Pitt. I don't actually know. Pitt might be okay. But
I mean, there's a lot of these teams you just don't know with year in and year out. I mean,
yeah, like Boston College is one of those. They're either going to be bad or mid. It's one of the two.
Yeah. I mean, on any given year, Notre Dame can pop off, or Louisville can pop off.
No, last year Notre Dame's strength was they had a freshman. He plays for the Spurs now. Blake Wesley. He's what killed us when we played Notre Dame. But he killed everybody. He was like on a hot streak up until the tournament, and he's like, I mean, he would carry their team, but I didn't really see much of that team anyway. Like others parts of that team that were good. So Notre Dame might fall off a fucking cliff this year. Who knows?
Yeah, but
it's too early to tell.
Like Pastner likes to say, there's no off days in the ACC.
Yeah, the ACC is one of the toughest conferences. Like obviously, the Big Ten has been probably, arguably, like the toughest conference of.
Yes, but I mean,
and the SEC has come into its own. Big 12 has Baylor, but
I think 1 through 14, I believe it is in the ACC. 14 teams in the ACC. You can stack them up 1 through 14 with any conference in the country, and they're going to hold their own.
Yeah, and I feel like having, I mean, the ACC Big Ten Challenge has been a thing for years, but I think also having that is like you can still get your matchups of like Duke, Michigan State is year in year out, and you show that you're, and I'm pretty sure every year it's pretty much like 8-6, like 8 and 6 is like the way it swings each year. It's like one conference wins 8, one wins 6, and but yeah. So I feel like the ACC is going to be actually really interesting this year because we don't know a lot about a lot of teams. Like the only team we really know is North Carolina, just because they're the same team. Yeah. So I feel like it's going to be a really interesting year.
Although I will say that game Saturday is a trap game against
Georgia State.
Georgia State
every year is a trap game.
They have played us very, very hard early in the season, 2 years in a row now. I think it's gone to overtime 2 years in a row now.
Yeah, because we lost the first 2 games of 2020 and fucking won. But we lost. We lost to Georgia State in like double overtime 2 years ago.
I think it was triple overtime. COVID season.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, granted that year everybody counted us out like after those 2 games. It's like, yeah, there's no like you and I both were in the same boat. We're like we fucking suck.
No, I thought we were just gonna be absolutely terrible, but
yeah, obviously we stood corrected, but
yeah, but I mean it's one of those things where Georgia State's gonna come to play, and you have to come to play too.
Yeah, and
so
but the season's gonna be interesting. I don't really have any other thoughts to say on this game, because I mean, hopefully I'll actually be able to. I'll probably be able to watch that Georgia State game. So. At the very least, I will be able to watch it. I don't know about being there, but watching it at least.
If you are going, let me know. I'll grab a ticket with you.
Bet. I will. Right. I'll talk to my dad. All right, so I will see you. I'll do my outro later. But so let me know down below if you liked it. If sports content like this interests you, please subscribe. Please like the video if you like the video. I don't feel like there's more else to say to that. I don't really got anything else to say. I'm out. Deuces.